What's going on, you guys? My name's Tynots and welcome to Top 5 Unknowns, 5 disturbing Reddit confessions. Number 5. There was a deleted confession of a Venezuelan Redditor about killing a street thug for sexually assaulting his girlfriend. This happened when Venezuela was in the first stages of entering an economical apocalypse that it's currently in. He described that it's futile for a Venezuelan to leave a criminal to due process, since law enforcement can't be bothered to even work the case. The police were underpaid, and most of the time they were even in cahoots with the criminals. So he kidnapped the thug, brought him to a remote house, and beat him to death with a metal bat while the guy was tied to a chair. He then disposed of the body in a plastic bag near a river on a roadside, just like how you'd see it in the films. I remember that he wrote that the whole ordeal left him feeling completely apathetic and nonchalant. The original confession has since been deleted to protect himself. My memory of the post is kind of a bit hazy, but it was one of the first memorable and powerful things I've read on Reddit. Number 4. Opie had a loud couple living above him, and the guy had just gotten hauled off to jail for domestic violence charges, and the girl asked for Opie's number under the guise of protection should the boyfriend return. Well, from that she turned into a full-bore stalker, breaking into his apartment and surprising him virtually nude, proposing to both him and his girlfriend, tracking him down at his new apartment after he had moved, and full-blown crazy with several arrests mixed in. So Opie eventually moves several states away and things quiet down. But then his now ex-girlfriend contacts him years later, and apparently Crazy Girl has shown up at her work demanding info on him. Security was forced to intervene. Sometime after that, she tracked down Opie's brother in college with more demands and got thrown out once again. But she didn't give up and showed up at his brother's job and then got beaten up by his boss. At some point, I forget exactly when, she masquerades as her own therapist trying to contact Opie on Facebook. He ignores her, obviously, and just moved on. Finally, she's found dead at the bottom of a canyon or something months after the fact. It's terrifying what mental illness can do to someone without some sort of medical intervention. An innocent encounter became nearly a decade of obsession. I'll never forget that post, and it definitely didn't get the attention it should have. Number 3. Recently on a thread like this, a guy responded that when he was a kid, he used to have a recurring nightmare about a cave. He'd be crawling and go down these turns and see trash and bodies in the nightmare, but he could never make it to the final turn at the end because fear or something would wake him up. Well, one day in real life, he goes with his dad to some cave, and as he's going down the cave, he notices the exact same cave from his nightmares. He had a small panic attack and told his dad that he couldn't go down there. He never did find out what was at the end and ended up just leaving. Well, it turns out that another Redditor recognized the cave by name, and his friend knew about it as well. His friend loves cave exploring but refused to talk about that one specific cave. It makes me wonder what was really at the end of it. Number 2. I can't remember much of it, but some guy in The Whistler. When he was a boy with his mom, there was some old man, and he started whistling a strange tune, only like 3 notes in a repeating pattern. His mom freaked out and they left, but just a few years later he was in the woods and heard it again and immediately ran home. Fast forward to his adult years and he's moved a few states away. He and his girlfriend were at a 4th of July party, but they were kind of alone and far away from everyone in a riverbank. The girlfriend left to go get drinks from the truck, and just as she did, a canoe came paddling down the river whistling the exact same tune. Years later, all the way across the country. The guy ended up getting a video of it, but it just made everything creepier. Number 1. I remember reading a post of a young woman who was on a road trip through the US. On one of her stops for the night at a cheap hotel, something didn't feel right about the interaction she had with the clerk, and even later in the bedroom, she still just didn't feel comfortable. She eventually decided to sleep in her car, and during that night she woke up to noises and saw the clerk and a group of guys going into her room and closing the door behind them. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like 2 guys entered the room and a few moments later 3 guys came out of it. It appears that maybe one guy had been hiding in the room the entire time. The guys then came back later to check her car, but she was able to hide under a mountain of dirty clothes without them noticing. Reading that story really creeped me out. My blood boiled just thinking about if this was the first time that these guys had done this, and if not, how many other victims there must have been. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.